All right, people. We are beginning another excellent episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture in movies, music, politics, and society. And we have one film and a topic to talk about today concerning film. The first film that we're reviewing is the Tyler Perry film Nobody's Fool.
Yep, starring Tiffany Haddish, Antika Sumter, Omari Hardwick, Whoopi Goldberg, as well as a cast of great actors.
Great actors, that's right. And the second, and the topic we're going to talk about is how is A Star Is Born, Green Book, going up against Panther for best movie, best film, best picture at the Oscars, when these films haven't even hit the theaters yet, but somehow they're up for the running. And it's really a ridiculous situation, but we're going to talk about it. But let's talk about Nobody's Fool first. Let me tell you, if you are a Tyler Perry fan of his style of films, this is definitely an upgrade from what he usually does with Madea. That's the first thing. If you are a fan, you won't be disappointed. And if you're not so much a fan of Tyler Perry's films, you will love this film. I will tell you. Nobody's Fool is not only well written, pacing, incredible. The first 10 minutes sets up the film beautifully. We talked about that yesterday. And the comedy within the film is not based on buffoonery. You know,
the Ain't Nobody's Fool cast was amazing. Again, I mentioned Tika Sumter, Tiffany Haddish, Whoopi Goldberg, Omari Hardwick, Amber Riley, McCade Brooks. They killed it. And then not only was the cast great, the storyline, the script was great, the cinematography was great, the soundtrack was great.
And there are some cameo appearances within the film that will have you going.
So we don't want to mention.
We're not going to mention that. But there are some cameos in the film that you will just trip out at. Right? Okay, so the story is actually another multi-cast film. It's a not multi-cast, but it's an ensemble cast film where the stories are well fleshed out. The secondary characters' storylines are pretty well fleshed out, but it wraps around two sisters who have an interesting mother who raised them. And it revolves around the relationship between the two sisters. One is a successful ad executive, and the other is coming home from prison after doing a 5-year stint in prison. She's coming home. So the whole story opens up. So you're introduced to the characters. You're introduced to the main character, and going in and finding out that she might be having a little difficulty at work, being singled out to possibly get a promotion. And that's what we'll stop right there with that. But then her mother calls and says, you've seen this in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler. Pick up your sister, she's getting out of jail, and you've seen all that before.
Movie takes off from there.
And that's right. That is the initiating event of everything, and then from there you're introduced to the Tiffany Haddish character, and her backstory is told within dialogue. No flashback sequences in this at all. This is all a forward-looking story, real time on screen. So you are introduced, and through dialogue you find out what's happening. Tyler Perry's ability to, coming from the stage and being able to translate not only the stage craft but also film craft, and making the dialogue concise, to the point, and then just telling the story through images is excellent in this film. I mean, he is definitely a storyteller. The first 10 minutes sets up the film. The initiating event happens. It kicks off, and it goes from there. Then you're introduced to Amari Hardwick's character. And let me tell you something about Amari Hardwick, because we're not going to give this away. I'm just going to tell you that the trailer, though the trailer is good, it does not give the film its just due. It does just what it needs to do to get you in the theater, but there are twists in this film that are unexpected. I'll say that. So I'm going to say that. Also, Tyler Perry, like I told you, within the story, there's the opening. You're introduced to the characters. He changes up the way film grammar is taught, and he breaks with the traditional, and he kind of puts the big gloom right in the middle of the film, and that's where we'll leave that. The big gloom is something that happens to the main character or the people who are within the film that are together with the main character, and it's usually a big gloom, and then they have to go through it before they come out. He puts that in the middle of the film, and then comes back later, and still from the point of view of the successful ad executive, he's telling another big gloom that happens to a secondary character, which is very interesting storytelling as that a filmmaker of his stature can do, because he's broken many rules before, and he continues, but it works in this film. So now about Amari Hardwick. Amari Hardwick, his elevation of how he can take the character to different levels leading up to the arc of the character is amazing. His facial expressions, how he can show hurt. I noticed that in the first or the second season of Ghost. Not Ghost.
I think you noticed Power. I think you noticed it the first season.
Yeah, it was the first season. It was when he and Angela, the Ghost character, and Angela can't be together, and his facial expressions really brought home, and I said the guy is on top of his game, and he displays this here. There are scenes where it's comedic scenes, but he's the straight man within it, and instead of just turning around instantly, he takes a second to deliver the facial expression. As he turns, it makes the scene more complex for his character. So he is definitely arcing. The young lady who plays the ad executive, what's her name?
Tiffany. Tika's assistant.
Her
Amber,
assistant,
her name is
Amber. She comes from Glee. She is an excellent secondary character who is the friend who is who bridges. She's kind of like the bridge between the sister, the ad executive sister, and Tiffany Haddish's character. She is definitely a bridge because she can keep it real and still be business, and she keeps it real and business amongst the two.
Amber Riley.
That's right.
Yeah.
She does real good. This is a great role for her, because sometimes in Hollywood, when you're in white concerns or European American concerns, when they feel that you're no longer useful, Tyler Perry is right there to swoop you up to keep you going. You know what I mean? And I think that this is an example of that, and it shows her ability and her range as a actor in this piece. Now, the sister, who's the ad executive, she's used to being on television. And television, the tone when acting is louder, because you're dealing with sometimes a studio audience, or it's just the way the miking is, and they want you to be more bombastic with it. So where you can see slightly, she's a great actress, a great actor, but you can slightly see in it the difference between what Amari Hardwick does, or what even Tiffany Haddish. I'm gonna get to Tiffany Haddish in a minute, but you can tell the tone is a little higher than film, because film tone, like in movie tone, in sitcom or TV tone, you're gonna be a little louder when you're screaming. But in film tone, because the miking is that great, and they're gonna work on posts and things, and it's a longer process to process film, you wouldn't yell. You would be like, you're gonna give me what you want to give me, and it's gonna seem like you're yelling. I always talk about Prince of Tides in the scene in The Office with Nick Nolte and Barbara Streisand. She's his psychiatrist. That shouldn't be a spoiler, because everybody should have seen Prince of Tides, but it's a scene in there where he's really going off, but his tone is the same tone as when he was talking, but it's just the expression in the voice. And
speaking of Barbara Streisand, we'll talk about it when we talk about A Star Is Born.
We'll start Star Is Born. Okay, so I can see slightly different in that, but her acting superb in it. Now, Tiffany Haddish, she is seasoned in the game. It's like how it's a shame that a lot of black folks don't get a chance to make it while they're young, in their 20s. It's only a few that push through, but it's like when you get to it's like a repeating cycle in Hollywood, right? Where if you study the history, they'll wait until a person is the person had their chops in their 20s and 30s, but they'll wait until you're in your 50s or late 40s, early 50s to give you a shot, like a Red Fox. Red Fox seasoned in the game by the time Hollywood gave him the opportunity or a chance to play a role that was not blue. Okay? They wait so long to give people, so by the time a lot of us get there, we are seasoned in it. We've been on stage, we've done the comedy, we've done the drama, we've done these things, and so when we get there, we're seasoned, and many times we are above those who may not have had to hit what they would call the Chitlin circuit as hard. Okay, so this is where Tiffany Haddish is now. The step, I call it stepping. I know there's a technical term for it, but I call it stepping and stepping up. And that's why I would tell my actors, like, I need you to step up as you take these gradual steps to arc the character to where they are in their new existence. I need you to take these steps and gradually movement, facial expressions to the point to where you're delivering a full complete performance. And this is what she does, and by the middle of the film, the character has arced into her new existence, her facial expressions, what she says in silence with her facial expressions, what she says as far as with her facial expression when she's giving dialogue, her movements, everything. She is a master in acting.
And Tika Sumpter, she did an excellent job also.
Yeah.
She brought it home. And then there was the scene when Amari Hardwick, I'm not going to tell the scene.
Yeah, it's hard not to
but
tell
you
the
mentioned,
scene,
you said he's really like Arkin. Now, he's already a really good actor, but he really took it there. Like, you're watching this movie, and I didn't think of his character on Power Ghost, like, not one time.
Not at all.
He took on the character. The mannerisms, just the tone of his voice, just his body language, just everything was totally the character Frank. And the reason why I said that is because sometimes in certain movies, it's just like, there are certain actors who use the same tone, the same body language, like in every movie they do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have some actors who are great, like Amari Hardwick, and he took it there. In every movie that I see him in, he's a totally different person
other than Ghost.
Yeah, he changes up his dialogue and everything. His mannerisms, everything, his dialect. Yeah,
and so, I mean, it's just excellent. But a perfect example of that is you see Old Dog in Boys in the Hood, wasn't it? Boys in the Hood.
Okay.
Oh no, that's Menace to Society.
Okay.
Old Dog, which is I can't think of his name. Tate.
Yeah, Lorenz
Tate. We right after that, because he had done such a great performance, he comes out with the Inkwell, and then after the Inkwell is the poet, Love Jones. Right. But in the Inkwell, we were sitting in the theater, and everyone thought that maybe this was going to be, well, not everyone, because I saw the previews. We're going to go see this film because he's the next new hot actor back then. Right. And so we go see it, and then the people are sitting in there, and I hear one guy saying, because there's a lot of dudes in there that came from off of seeing Old Dog, and they wanted to see him again. He said, look at Old Dog crying like a bitch. Okay, right? Because the guy could stretch his range, but it was one thing, he had the same smile that Old Dog had, so that kind of made people relate. That sometimes actors can change their smile and move it into another. Now, when you see him on Power now, he's a totally different guy. That smile is more sinister. It's not just a wide smile.
Yeah, Lorenz Tate is another great actor because he wasn't the same when Inkwell compared to Menace to Society to like Love Jones as well as his other films. Different in every film. So you have to go see Nobody's Fool. It is more than what you will expect to see in the theater by Tyler Perry. And the soundtrack is nice. And if you're familiar with the artist Her, she just slammed it. There's certain scenes in the film and the music is just like really hot and like it's hard not to, not to get a movie away. But Her, great artist. Yeah, check her out.
Great song selection as an auteur.
They did a
Tyler
great job
Perry
matching up the music with the scenes and everything. And
he has all of the classic jams. He had to pay for those
Janet
clearances.
Jackson, Boys and Men,
so you have to do that. So let's get to the politics real quick of the politics of film and of entertainers, black entertainers, period. Let me say this. You cannot hold black entertainers responsible to necessarily be speaking on political topics. Now, if they choose to speak on political topics and have the conversation for political topics, then they should be heard.
Like a Jesse Williams.
Right? But if you're a MC or you're an actor or you're a comedian and someone drops a question to you about something that's happening in society, if your mind is not set on society, you're not going to give a good answer, so most likely you will deflect. You cannot hold people responsible to do because they do their thing. They bring people along with them that's their part.
Although we do love artists who are conscious and they speak up.
We do. But sometimes consciousness can also be exhibited through who you bring along with you.
Right.
How the opportunities that you bring forth. Because ultimately people are entertainers. Right? And they're moving their career along. It's just like if you have a job and you're doing your job, and then someone asks you something, you may not be on that right at that moment because you're doing your job. So this is the point about when people talk about Tiffany Haddish or they even talk about Tyler Perry. But look what they do for the people. You know what I mean? So when you're doing it, look what they do, and most definitely make sure you go see Nobody's Fool in the theater, because I see this person up here has posted something up here where you click to one of those dummy sites to watch the film for free or something. Go get the film. Go to the movie theater and support the film because that's what it is. And that's what it is. So don't anyone who is in the entertainment business, right? And you are a person who is in the entertainment business and you talk against someone else who is in the entertainment business saying that they're coons or buffoons or whatever, like they used to talk about Nicki Minaj, and then you find out that Nicki Minaj is one of the most pro-black people that you will ever meet, and that record labels are using other female artists to try to get at them, and those female artists are the ones who are actually, in my opinion, the coons. Because if you are able to be used just to have a career to diss someone, and you're not dissing because that's part of hip hop, but you're dissing because they promised you a career or whatever, and then every time we see you, Nicki Minaj does something 2 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks later you're doing the same exact thing. That is, in my opinion, cooning. Okay? It's just like black folks in whatever economic status we are authentic to what we are. But the cooning comes in when white folks take what they think are stereotypes and put on blackface and then try to act like what they're doing a caricature. That is cooning. Okay, so the white folks were the first ones to coon. Because the black people, the people who put on clown makeup, making fun of the hobos who were mostly black, they were coons. Just like the clowns, coons.
Just like you want to go out and see Tiffany Haddish's film, Ain't Nobody's Fool, or you see it, on your Fire Stick, or you want to support the artist.
That's right.
Because anything that's the fake links to see the movie for free and all of this other stuff, like that's cooning. Like anybody that's trying to sabotage a black artist from getting their coins in the theater with this click here to see it for free, I think of it more as a white supremacist type mentality.
It's an attack.
Because you're trying to stop this black artist from doing well in the theater, but then you're not trying to block who's in the theater, like Nicole Kidman.
The Sisters Brothers. And you don't see that posted. But every black film that's successful,
like they tried to do it with Panther.
They did with Panther. So
you have to look out for that type of stuff.
And you have to have more integrity and love for your people and realize what time it is. Though it is European American studios and now Japanese and Chinese studios that are putting these films out through the American system, it is still black writers, black directors, black editors, boom, 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 all the way through to tell this story. And you don't want to take the money from out of their pockets.
And so be careful with that kind of stuff too, because also you click the links for this fake stuff. 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, it's a virus.
So stay tuned for that. So well, we wanted to say that, so go see the film.
Right.
And people who are in the entertainment business and you do that and you talk against other entertainers,
right.
if your time ever comes where you break through the glass ceiling,
Right.
people will say, well, you used to say this. Now you're doing this? Well, it seems like you're a sellout. And you're doing the same thing that the people did who you said were cooning. Right? So let's curtail that going into the next year, because really what's really cooning, in my opinion, is you're talking against other black people, but you don't talk against the system that causes it to have to be that way.
Right.
Talk against the system that it has to be that way, then we'll be saying something, right? If you notice that that's the way to go in this, because there's no win, because we see what's happening in the politics. There's no win in being any other way but then standing on your principles.
Right.
But if your principles is about being within the system and being about the system and not being about your own people, stand on your principles and see, no matter what, if you watch any good movie or in reality in life, you may last longer, but you're gonna be X'd in the end, just like those who stood on principle from the very beginning. Okay, so that's what we wanted to say about Nobody's Fool. So cinematography, excellent. Lighting, incredible.
Yeah.
Acting, the arcing of the actors, the ability for them to step up and basically beat each other in acting. That's why I tell my actors, I want y'all to step up and outdo, so I can see the other actor watching you act, and then that's how you know that you actually got that piece. You actually got that scene totally captured and you arced at the right time. So all of that, the story writing, the music, the way that Tyler Perry manipulated the regular structure, film grammar and the script structure, excellent. So what would you rate the film?
A 10.
Yeah. I rated a 10 also.
Yeah, okay. So it's definitely worth going to see and going to support Firefox or to the movie theater. And just like in every city, hey, go on a movie date. And just about in every city they have like a $5 show where you can go see. If you're not able to catch it on the weekend, if you're busy, you catch it on a weekday, check it out for $5 in one of your local theaters. But you definitely want to go see it, and you definitely want to support it.
That's right.
And look out for other great films that are coming out, like the Spider-Man.
That's right. The first, which is his name is Morales.
Yes, Miles Morales.
That's right. He's the first black Spider-Man in the film. It's not a live action. It's animation. And the previews
are crazy good.
In the Spider-Verse. Yeah, that's right. So you're gonna see him and different Spider-Men come from different universes, and they all come together to do it. The first trailer came out. It's not really telling you what they're fighting, but they all come together to do this. Also,
and don't forget, now today's humor and animation, although it's supposed to be for children, is mostly adult humor. So don't even think about it. Go ahead.
It's drawn to the scripts are drawn to go over the children's heads, even though they understand some of it. But it's like the Rugrats, when we went to go take your niece when she was young to go see the Rugrats movie, and they were dancing around, the sumo wrestlers was dancing around their little sumo gear, and you're like, what is this? And all the kids did was laugh. And then you think about, well, that's kind of but it goes over their head. Or maybe it might go in their psyche. It's all on your decision to decide. But definitely go see that movie. It's definitely, I would think, for all ages.
So take your kids. If you don't have any kids, you go see it yourself. It's hilarious. And then also, next year, Aladdin. You have to check that out. Will Smith is going to be the genie, so that's going to be really good. And then Glass, starring Samuel Jackson.
That comes out in January.
Yeah, the M. Night Shyamalan film. Also starring Bruce Willis.
That's like
and
a
James
sequel
McAvoy.
to Unbreakable.
Yeah, a few one, Brinkable, and Split.
Yeah, that's right. And so you get to see the three antagonists. Well, they antagonists to each other, but also heroes in their own right. So that's an interesting story line there. I mean, there's a lot of great films coming out.
Especially November the 21st. Mm-hmm. You have to check out...
There's 2 films coming out.
Well, it's 2 films, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And why would they come out at the same time?
Oh, we know why. 2,
right. Creed 2 and Green Book. Which gets us to Green Book, okay? Right. There's someone else pushing another film. Ignore all that, people. Go to the movies and see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
but you
have to go to and support it. And I'm looking at the name. See, now this is why Trump is trying to stop all of this.
No.
This is why Trump is trying to stop all of this. But anyway.
But we give them props for coming on to a hot podcast.
Oh yes, because
we're a hot podcast. So of course they're paying attention and they're taking the opportunity to post, because they usually don't get this type of opportunity to post necessarily. So they're going to post on a hot podcast.
Just like all around the world.
That's right.
Black people, we're the pulse of everything. Whether it's hip hop,
R&B, jazz, clothes, just the way we walk,
science,
talk.
technology.
That's it. When you go back and research. But anyway, so let's stay on top. So let's talk about the Green Book.
Okay.
You know, going to see the movie, right on the 21st. It seemed to have come out of nowhere, but we're definitely going to see Creed 2 first.
Right.
Then we will see that movie, and of course we will be reviewing those movies. But why is it that Black Panther, it came out way last year, February, up for Best Picture, Best this, Best that, how is it that 2 films, one that came out just last month, or a month and a half ago, in A Star Is Born, how is that, and why is that, and Green Book both up at the same time with Black Panther for Best Picture? How is that possible? And these films aren't out there?
You know what it is? Because they're trying to throw out whatever they can against the wall so it could stick, so they can stop Black Panther from getting all of the awards it deserves. But again, I won't be watching the Oscars anyway.
What happened to all the films that were in that year? What happened to all those films that are in that year? Listen, I don't know if it's something where the judges in the Academy, which are fellow actors and whatever they do, because Critics' Choice is different. But I don't know how they do it. But if it's just because they send screeners out and these people can watch them, it should be based on when the movie is released theatrically in the theater, not by when the screener goes out to the judges, because that seems to kind of smell of the stench of unfairness.
Yeah, because if you're gonna throw in against, Panther, if you're gonna throw in the Lady Gaga movie that just came out, and as well as what's the other one they want to throw in? They want to throw
the Green Book, which comes out on the 21st. Right. We might as well throw in Nobody's Fool.
We might as well throw in Widows
absolutely with How to Get Away with Murder.
Right.
I mean, we might as well throw Viola Davis's film in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Which is really a remake of Set It Off with a multicultural cast. That's the way I see it.
Might as well throw in Creed 2.
Might as well throw in Creed 2.
Won a lot of awards.
Yeah, might as well throw that in there too. Since
we're just throwing a lot of stuff, just to block Black Panther from winning awards.
It's not in the same year.
Right.
Let's throw all those films in too. Because obviously they did not have films that could overtake or contend
that came out around the same time as Black Panther. Yeah. Well, because Black Panther came out at the top of the year, February. So what about all of all of the films that came out around the time of Black Panther, why aren't those films being nominated? Like, again, why am I hearing about
A Star Is Born?
Star Is Born, and then the other one, the Green Book, right?
The Green Book. Which is going to be a great.
It's going to be a great film, but
however, and it's going to be
just
based
let's not
on a
play
true
those
story.
games, although they play those games.
It's based on a true story, but then it's another story about how black people were down in the '60s. Listen, if we need to see another story about how black people are down, we can just turn on the news.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. We
can turn on the news, and then we can see how down black people are right now, as they're trying to take it back to, as they said on the news today, antebellum period. Mm-hmm. You know, they're trying to take it back to there. Right. You know, we can go watch that on the news. Right. Let's get some other stories.
Just had to throw it out there because we just needed everybody to know, as well as the Academy, like, we see what you're doing. Like, we know the game. Like, black people not fooled by this bullshit. So, you know, so let's throw in Creed 2. That way, the director can win twice. Right. So if it's best film for Panther, then it's best fight scene for, you know, that, and so he can win twice in one night. Right. You know, I mean, being that you're stepping it up and making it have the stench of unfairness. And let me say something about this. There's a black woman that's in head of the Academy. And remember, she's just the head. She's just the making the decisions. She's just the head. Right. And so I'm not going to say anything, but I could just say that why would it go that way if there's a person there that understands and has an overstanding of what the struggle is? Right. Okay. If you don't, you know that you have to recognize this film because it's great in every way. Right. You know what I mean? Right. You know you have to recognize this, but you're going to put some impediment into it so it won't take home 15, 16 awards Oscars, in one night. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, so the Oscars want to put up A Star's, you know, these new films up against Panther. Okay, so then they've already been raving about, oh, A Star Is Born is so good, it's so great, you know, it should win an Oscar, it should be nominated for this and that. What's going on, Philly? Hey, Philly. Go ahead. And all of a sudden, but you want to run it up against Panther, just so Panther can't get his awards, because we see you. We know you want to get awards to Gaga. We know you want to get award to Bradley Cooper. Whatever, fine. Cool, you might as well throw Clint Eastwood's film in there, The Mule. Yeah, but if we're gonna be honest and stuff, anybody and everybody who saw The Star Is Born with Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand knows that it's a much better movie than the Lady Gaga movie, and that's just the honest to God truth. So they're just throwing shit at the wall to stop Panther from winning. So anybody that saw The Star Is Born, the real Star Is Born, with Barbara Streisand, you can't tell. Lady Gaga can't touch Barbara Streisand's acting in that film. So let's just keep the shit real. So Barbara Streisand, on top of her game, even then, you know, all during the time, you know, they was trying to keep her out. If you haven't seen Yento, I told you, if you have a dry eye watching, you know, my father, can you hear me? Father, can you hear me? Anyway, listen, if you have a tear, but anyway, listen. It is just the stench of unfairness. It reeks of the stench of unfairness. Listen, Lady Gaga, at the end of the film, people should have seen this film. Okay. So this is not a spoiler anymore, but this will awaken you to it if you weren't aware of it. When you listen to the closing number after, if anyone's seen the original Star Is Born, you know that the husband figure, he somehow checks out. I'm not going to talk about how he checks out in the first one versus the second one, because you should see both films to see what we are speaking of. But to get a fair assessment. But at the end of the film, when she's singing the number, you don't know if she's supposed to be, Lady Gaga is supposed to be the character, supposed to be Diana Ross, supposed to be Beyonce,
and there was one more that she sounds like Whitney Houston.
Yeah, we see
you don't
that.
know if she's supposed to be those three people, because in each part, in parts of the song, following consecutively, going into the bridge of the song, she sounds like each one of those, running like Beyonce, singing the high notes like Whitney, putting the beautiful not exoticness, but the beautiful movements of Diana Ross, and you don't know who you're looking at, if the character was ever original. Throughout the whole film until the end, she seemed original. She was holding her own until we get to this last scene.
I'm just like, why did they make Gaga?
When you look at the posters,
right?
Now she doesn't look like Beyonce, but if you look at the poster that they have with her hair down, they're trying to give her skin is a little bit more bronzed than fair, right? And she looks like they're trying to give her a Beyonce look. Maybe it's the arch of the eyebrows. We need to get new makeup artists in to have a different design on how to arch eyebrows, because a lot of the women look alike. The contouring of the nose and all that, because we need new people doing that.
The best song was the song from the trailer, I feel, from the Star is Born, that's the version of the movie that's being played now that the Academy Awards want to play up against Panther. The best song was the song in the trailer, and Gaga sounds like herself. But then throughout the movie, on her journey, and she's supposed to be this artist or whatever, and they have her sounding like everybody else except for like Gaga.
Well, the movie was pushed for.
Well, originally
it was for.
The script was supposed to be, they said, for Beyonce, but then she pulled
out because
what's his name was supposed to produce.
That's right, and because he pulled the chair out during the 2012.
Clint Eastwood, right?
Yeah, he pulled out the
and
chair.
Once he did that with Obama,
right?
Then Beyonce pulled out.
That's right.
Right, and then so then they replaced her with Lady Gaga, and I mean I just not replaced because Beyonce can't be replaced
somehow.
But
they gave an understudy a chance. Yeah. And so they brought in, they also moved Clint Eastwood on. He does this movie called The Mule.
Okay. Well.
Which there's a scene in the trailer where he turns around and there's Bradley Cooper. And I always joke every time we see it that Bradley Cooper was walking up to him and saying, "Oh yeah, I'm taking your directorship of Star is Born away from you, and we're gonna."
So he handed the mantle over to
Bradley Cooper. Right, to do the film, because his name then became and for a person that spans from the 1950s all the way into 2018,
right,
and to have a film like what's happening with this movie called The Mule, this could be his last picture on screen, his last direction on screen. The Mule. I mean, it's sad when you could have left politics out of it and just been neutral and let it go. But he's a Gemini, and so is Donald Trump. But I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we'll leave that right there. Listen, not that Geminis are bad or anything, because I love Geminis. 'Cause I'm a Gemini too, right. But I don't live on the blinded white side. I live on the black side at night. My eyes adjust. And I'm not blinded by the light. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just looking forward to Eric Holder presidency. I mean, that's just what I'm.
It's going to be a hard-fought battle. Yeah. And as far as politics is concerned, I don't think that the Democrats are going to have the results that I said. Have you noticed that the media is going back to the same playbook they were doing in 2016? Right? They're ridiculing and saying this is not what it is. They're lying about. They show you a poll where the Democrat is losing by 3 or 4 points, or maybe 2 points, and then they tell you, but it's surging and the Democrat is going to win. They are lying. Okay?
Right.
They are lying, because don't let your lying eyes fool you, I guess. We're saying one thing, right, but don't let their lying eyes fool you, and they're still joking around. They are not taking Donald Trump seriously. And this is the last point before we get out of here. We're going to get on a little politics. This is Trump's name. Trump. This is his name. If it's me, forget the media, forget the political parties. I am fighting to make sure that my name sustains past me, so that my children will have, and my children's children and children's children will have a place in America where they will be able to be in office and be a dynasty like they said the Kennedys wanted to be. And this is what this is about. This is all about names. So if you think that the man is going to go off without a fight and not use every angle possible that he used when he was a businessman in New York, if you think he's not going to use every angle to get through to make sure his name comes out, because there's a lot of politicians who did dirt, but their names come out, and in the end they say he was an honorable man. But wait a minute now, didn't he let somebody drown, and didn't he start busting, and he knew that most of the white folks had moved out, and then we just went and bust to ourselves? He was a bigot, in my opinion. But that's just an example of one. But this man is fighting for his name, and name is everything.
And the media is a joke.
The media
because
is a joke.
they helped Trump get in office. And I'm not talking about Fox.
No.
ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, they're all hypocrites. They was giving this man free airtime. He was on television all the time. They were filming all of his rallies 24/7. They helped this man get in office.
Right.
So they're hypocrites.
And you know how they're helping now? And this is how they're helping now.
Right.
They talk about what happens in the past. If his people haven't researched what happened in the past, and they say, well, you know, it took so long for Nixon to be this, and then this happened, and then this happened. They tell the story. The next thing you know, a couple of weeks later, Trump comes up and he eliminates the people in place that did the things that they did with Nixon. Or they will talk about, or now they're talking about, oh yeah, people are out there rallying to get out there. If you want to win against people, well, I won't say that. I'll leave that alone. But if you're sitting up there and you giving them the information, that's only rallying his base of people to say, we're going to get out there and vote one time.
I'm like, they're trying to push these people. They're playing it up. Oh, the Democrats are going to win and da-da-da. To me, you're putting the fire up under the Republicans so they can all galvanize and rush out and vote. Like, it's just,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. And this whole Megyn Kelly crap on NBC, the morning show. First of all, you knew why this woman was on Fox. Okay, you knew her record of making racist comments. She was on Fox TV. We knew this, right? But NBC takes this woman. They give her a $69 million contract. They get rid of Tamara Hall, a black woman who had been on NBC for years.
Who should have been the next step.
They high ratings on the show, right? And then you just kick her to the curve, bring in Megyn Kelly, and then we're so shocked Megyn Kelly made these racist comments. Well, you knew what she was when you brought her over from Fox and gave her $69 million.
And they still have to pay that out.
Right. So it's just like the games that they play. They think we can't see through this, but we see through the bullshit. I mean, NBC, that was some racist shit you did. And we know you racist.
Because you didn't want Bill Cosby to own NBC.
Right.
I mean, and Bill Cosby would have took it to the next level. Had bailed NBC out, come to find out. And had bailed out the Cleveland Browns, come to find out.
Right.
And when he wanted to go back and purchase, oh no, we can't have you purchase. We're not that close. You can come do this, but we don't need you to do this, where you're pointing and telling people what to do.
As many years as Al Roker was on NBC and still is,
they
demoted him. They said they demoted him and Tamara Hall to give Megyn Kelly that spot and give her $69 million. Now, if that's not a slap in the face, and anybody with common sense can clearly sit back and look at all of this shit, and they think we don't see through this? Oh, NBC so appalled about what Megyn Kelly said about blackface. Are you kidding me? She talked about,
and she still gets a
stuff
payout.
like, she
still gets a payout. So someone there liked what she said and said, even if she goes, she still gets the payout. So she's $69 million richer. No matter what. So she's set.
Right.
$69 million is going nowhere fast. It's not spending fast.
Just like on MSNBC. They got rid of Melissa, and then they brought in Greta from
Greta Van
Fox
Susteren.
News. So you get rid of this black woman, Melissa, who had been on MSNBC for years. She had a high-rated show Saturdays and Sundays, right? They opened up the Essence Fest with this woman. MSNBC had never had like
a presence with black people.
Right.
Until,
so as soon as they open up the door with Melissa, Melissa's at the Essence Fest. And Melissa gets the interview with President Barack Obama once he gets in office, you know. And she's the voice of the people, you know. And then you kick her out the window. And then you literally, we start seeing commercials for this woman from Fox. And NBC is supposed to be, liberal. But we know who liberals are, right? So, I mean, it's just fake and phony. We want you guys to just come out and vote Democrat. We don't have to give you anything. You know, we don't have to look into police brutality. We don't have to look into fair loans giving to African Americans for housing as well as businesses. We know that all of that stuff is unequal.
We're not gonna even speak on what's happening to African Americans. We're only gonna speak on
we're not gonna speak on it
to the Jewish community, the LGBT community.
Right.
And let me say this.
But we just want your vote. We just want you to show up and vote.
Now here's what I say. Here's a slight split here. All black people are not the same. There are people who have been here in this country whose ancestors have experienced this. And then there are immigrants that come that push that look like us, who push that line about this is a country built by immigrants. Do not be fooled by that. This country was built off the backs of skilled labor that was brought in because they knew how to build, how to plant, how to have create infrastructure. Black slaves, because they didn't just bring them in for their physicality, though that was part of it. They also brought it in for their minds. Okay, so this country was built off of free labor, and once free labor was no longer available, that's why it's been topsy-turvy as far as trying to keep the economics, and why they continue to not give us a total fair shake and give us what we earned. Okay, so here's what I say to this. The immigrants that came in, like the guy who was killed in Washington, right? No, that was Florida. He was killed in his apartment building by the police officer. Right? Oh, Dallas, Texas. He was killed by the female police officer. He was an immigrant, but when you go into his website, you see that he was hugged up with European American women all the time in his thing, right? His mother gets on TV and she says all lives matter, because they have been told that, you know, to be more accepted, you can't toe the black people's line, which is Black Lives Matter and stop killing us. Okay, so now they have a lot of people who are second generation or third generation on TV now who look like us but do not necessarily toe the line of black people who were here since 1619 or 1554.
Although the civil rights movement was fought by who?
By the people who were here from 1554 to 1619.
And then everybody else comes in on the back of.
So what I'm saying to you is, since they have those people up front, black people, since they're starting to kill the second generation immigrants who look like us, we're gonna let you, since you're on TV, let's see you handle it, and let's see if this intersectionality that you want to preach and do works for you. Because like it's always been predicted, when it gets to the second generation, Abner Louima, that they did the plunger to him in the 90s, he wasn't even second generation. He was just here. And what about the other guy who had the wallet? They shot him 43 times. Right? In the alley. I can't even think of his name right now, but they were here just working. But you know what they saw? They saw that black skin, and they understand what their prime directive is to eliminate us, because their population, their 8% of the global population, Europeans, period, are dwindling on the planet. And their prime directive is to try to lower our population. Just like they're releasing something with talking about killing off the malaria infecting mosquitoes in Africa. GMO. So they're going to put something in the mosquitoes that stops them from reproducing. They're going to release these mosquitoes into the air. And what's the odds that the same thing that's in there when the mosquitoes who sting black Africans over there, if that doesn't somehow sterilize those black Africans? They say, oops, we didn't know that was going to happen, but we know because we know your tricks.
And that's what they're talking about actually today. Like the people in the different countries in Africa are talking about this sterilization that, you know, they believe and feel that they're trying to do to them, because the president of France made a comment
overpopulation
over population of people in Africa.
7 to 10 kids.
They're having too many children in Africa, and the African people are like, okay, so why are you worried about how many children we're having? You're in France, right? So why are you talking about population control of us, right? And then all of a sudden now they've created these mosquitoes on a pretense that it's supposed to fight malaria. Right? So the African people are like, okay, so
some African people,
the conscious
some of those countries, they're awake and they're saying, wait a minute.
Africans are saying, okay, so these mosquitoes that you guys genetically created,
modified,
in the
laboratories,
science labs, right, that are supposed to stop this malaria. When these mosquitoes bite us, they're going to sterilize us. So that was the plan all the time, right? You know, so that's what they're saying.
You know, they're assuming because, you know, we know the tricks, because sterilization has always been part of the
look at the Tuskegee experiment as well as other experiments that was done on black people.
Man, listen, so we're going to let those second generation who speak English and who look like us and dress like us, we want you to get on the TV and handle this and see if you can handle it, because we're going to fortify our stuff. You know, we're going to make sure that everything works. But all this about, all lives matter, and
of course we know everyone's but see that's a jab, because we all know that everyone on this earth matters. Everyone's lives matter. But the reason we had to say this is because they treated black Americans as if their lives don't matter,
or black people around the globe as if their lives don't matter.
Right. So that's why
it had to be said, but out the window, because we're not trying to explain anything. You know what I'm saying? We're not trying to explain anything to them. Point blank, we're gonna let those second generations see if you can handle it any better, and see if you don't all of a sudden come around when you start seeing your children lying dead and bloody in the street, because the people who bring you in the country and tell you not to associate with black people in America because we're so this and so that, though everything we do spans the globe and everyone wants to be like us, everybody, even though they say don't be like them because such a, when they start looking at your children and they start killing them when they start getting around 15 or younger, or they start some sterilization plots with your children, let's see how you handle it, and see, because I'm starting to see the cracks starting to happen, and those people who were second generation are starting to say racism, and this is going back to Jim Crow, and this is going back to antebellum slavery. Now all of a sudden they seem to know all this information where they didn't know it before. And so that's where we're going to end it today. You know, we got heavy at the end, but it's very important. So go see
Ain't Nobody's Fool.
That's right, with Tiffany Haddish. It's a Tyler Perry film. Excellent. And don't let them write in and go to the Academy website, use the email and say, look, man, why are these two films, we just want to know, how are these two films there when they weren't even in the same year as Black Panther? And Black Panther and
the same year, but it was in February.
February. Okay, so why is it, and it's so far away, why is it there? So that's what we want to say to that, and let them know that, you know, This is ridiculous.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So this is where we're going to end it. You have been watching another great episode of the Film Review. Movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to our minds. We are the husband and wife team. I am Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review culture in movies, music, politics, and society. And we will see you next time. It's the Film Review.